We just broke a 10-year heat record in this city, Dr. Boozary. It's now 36 degrees out. I want to point out that it feels like 43. What are you hearing from advocates like yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Lena. I mean, I think when, we're seeing that's playing out on the front lines is that, heat and what we've heard about pools being closed and this really record-setting month of the humidity in June, it's not just uncomfortable, it can be a deadly situation for people. I mean, we have to remind ourselves when we look at some of the heat waves that have played out through BC in 2021, there are over 600 preventable deaths. We've seen this in 2011 in Ontario. And Health Canada has been reporting that over the last 2 decades, we've seen about a 20 to 25% increase in heat-related deaths. So this is a terribly dire issue. It's a serious issue when we're talking about 150 preventable deaths a year due to heat-related exposure. And again, what I think needs to be clear is that yes, it's important for access to pools, and I can sense all the frustration that's out there with city staff trying to do their best with pools and cooling centers. But this is really about climate change and poverty and housing coming together in a perfect storm when we have increasing temperatures and humidity. And it really is, some of our youngest folks, some of the older folks and patients that really bear the brunt of this, and especially people who are unhoused or living in low-income settings without air conditioning.
Well, Dr. Boozary, the mayor alluded to some of those institutional and societal problems in her apology today. Yeah. However, she did say that she wants to look at reviewing Toronto's heat strategy. You referenced BC, where the coroner there, unlike Ontario's, actually does track heat-related deaths. When you look at the strategies that must be changed, the city may be looking at bringing back cooling centers, but what are we missing here, or what is going to potentially help save lives?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And I think when you look at the data, it's really important when we look at low-income housing or Toronto community housing and other social housing options, we've not seen a retrofitting of air conditioning for these units. I think the latest report in the Toronto Star is that over 5,600 units do not have access to air conditioning. So when you look at the BC data of tracked deaths, the most vulnerable or structurally vulnerable are older adults that are living in low-income settings with a myriad of comorbidities, whether that's mental health and physical health like schizophrenia, COPD and asthma or heart failure. So it's really important that, one, we ensure for individuals that are living in low-income housing, especially seniors, that they get access to air conditioning programs. I think there's been a pilot that was recently announced in May, which I think is really pivotal. I think we need to see that scaled in the thousands to make sure that many and all can access air conditioning, especially if they're high risk. And then I think, the mayor's statement is right to say, let's look at expanding cooling centers. What is the integrated approach that needs to be there to warn people in advance, and also make sure that we're seeing adequate cooling spaces that are not just in public spaces where we know there's been real pushback, where we've seen a rise in people who are unhoused resorting to living outside, being relegated to living outside. We need to make sure there's more inclusive spaces across the city, especially in some of these high needs and high risk neighborhoods.
Okay, Dr. Andrew Boozary, we're grateful for your voice and your perspective. Thanks so much for this.